Parapara Umu, New Zealand. Sorry, I'm still getting. You'd think after all this time I'd be used to it by now. It's, fixed in there. Anyway, where am I? Parapara Umu, New Zealand. I hope you're all having a super fantastic sparkling day. Welcome to Porchlight Letters podcast number 2323, signed with purpose. Excuse me. So this morning somehow I had two meetings and I had a break for breakfast, and then I had to get on the chat. But sometime during that break for breakfast, we somehow got talking about the suffragette movement in New Zealand, and the fact that I have two great grandmothers who both signed the petition. And we'll talk about that in a second. I'll let you know. Don't worry. Don't panic. All the answers are coming. And so it prompted me to go looking, because I know that she said that one of my second great grandmothers signed it, the other one didn't. And I know I had seen one of them on the petition forms with their signature and everything. So of course that prompted me to go look again. So I worked up until I got on the chat. Then once I'd done the training and the chat, and once that was all done, I've spent the last couple of hours just researching and going through things and finding really cool stuff. So I found the petition form that had my paternal second great grandmother on the list. So I found her signature on there. But I haven't gone searching yet for the other one who signed the petition. Maybe I did. No. I have to go looking for that one. But I know where I can find it now, if it's there. And so what happened with those is that, let's see, come up here, see what I got on my notes. What was really cool is that my two second great grandmothers that I know of, I've got to go and research. I'm going to go and look up the other. Hang on, not a second grade, so that's 8. Grandparents are 4, 8, 16. So yeah, looking at my other 8, because we got the guys as well. So looking at my other 8, I'm going to go through all 8 of my second great grandmothers to see if any of them signed the petitions. So what happened back in 1891 in the suffragette movement is that there were, how many was it? There was like 6 petitions signed in 1891. Was it 8? 8 petitions signed that contained more than 9,000 signatures. And in 1892, 6 petitions were signed that contained almost 20,000 signatures. So between those two, we had 29,000 women in New Zealand who had signed these petitions for the right to vote. But then there were all these other little petitions that were also added in. And on the 11th of August in 1893, it was noted that they contained nearly 32,000 signatures from women. And those women were almost a quarter of the adult European female population in New Zealand. Isn't that exciting? So what happened in 1893 on the 19th of September, New Zealand became the first self-governing country in which women had the right to vote in a parliamentary election. How cool is that? And to know that I had at least two great grandmothers, second great grandmothers who participated in those petitions. And I thought I had seen the names on the signature panels and all that before, but hadn't really sort of thought about it until I went looking to see, how many signatures did they actually gather, and what was, and how long did it take them to gather these signatures. So I knew that there was a petition in 1892, because that's the one that the one on my paternal side, my second great grandmother on my paternal side signed. I didn't know about the one in 1891 until I started researching it. I didn't know that there was a lot of other smaller petitions that were also submitted as well, and that the fact that they had over 32,000 women sign these petitions, I thought, that's so awesome. So let me show what I'm going to. So then what happened is that a few years ago, there was a project that was started that was called Suffragette in Stitches. Suffrage in Stitches. And what this was, they created a 300 meter. A meter is roughly 12 inches a foot. So 300 meter. So you're looking at around 300 feet, maybe a little more. Yeah, I think that's right. No, hang on. 3 feet make a yard is about a meter. Yeah, 3 feet make a yard is about roughly around a meter. That's it. Okay, now that I've got my conversions right, so there's 3 feet to a yard is around a meter in length. So this was a 300-meter textile that was created, which also they said happened to be the same length as the petitions. So that's so cool. But anyway, what they did is that they were, out of the 32,000 people that signed, women that signed this, they made these panels. They had people, everybody got to make their own panels about their own ancestor who had signed this petition and tell their story. I thought that is such a great thing. So on there happens to be two of my second great grandmothers, and I'm going to show them to you. But first of all, I have to find, there's the share button, and I want this one. No, this one first. This one first. So this is my second great grandmother on my dad's side. It happens to be my dad's great grandmother. I had to think about that for a second. She was born in Cambridge, England, and she married my second great grandfather, who had previously been married and had kids as well. She moved out to New Zealand in about 1883. This is her picture of her here, which I thought was really cool. This was done by my second cousin. She created this, and this is a panel. They were given the size that the panels had to be, and then they were all sewn together, and they had them on display. And I don't know if they're still on display or not, but if they are, I want to go see them, because there is such an amazing story in there. And so this just gives her life story about who she was, because these are just, the women on these things are just ordinary people, everyday housewives. There were some businesses in there. I saw a US senator was listed on there as well. And I'm like, I got to go check that story out. I haven't had a chance to do that yet. But, she was from Cambridge in England, one of 8 children. She came out here. When after her husband died, she moved out here with their son and started life out here in New Zealand. She came out to help keep house for her brother, who was a widower at the time. And so then she eventually moved down to Wellington because my great-grandfather wanted to become a gunsmith, and so they moved to Wellington so he could learn the trade. And he actually became a very good gunsmith. And so that just shows you that her story here just shows that, and she was petition sheet number 478, and she's panel 391. So out of the 564, she's panel 391. But this just shows you that this is an ordinary person, everyday person. And what's really cool is that all these people, all these women that are in these panels, they tell the stories of these people. So you can just see they're everyday people. They're nobody that would normally stick out. There are a couple of people who do, but most of the time these women are just housewives. They may do housekeeping. Most of them are just housewives, just ordinary housewives. They could be nannies, they could be servants in the quarters and that sort of stuff, but they're just everyday people who did one extraordinary thing. Well, actually, Clara Ann did a couple of extraordinary things. First of all, as a widow, she moved with a 5-year-old from England. Was it to Australia first and then from England to New Zealand, where she went and kept house for her brother, who was a widower, and looked after his kids as well. She then moved out of that safe and insecure environment down to Wellington so her son could train to be a gunsmith. And then she did this extraordinary thing of signing a petition in 1892 that led it to 1893 when they were given the right to vote. So, she just wanted, just a couple of extraordinary things. So that was Clara Ann. I'll stop sharing this one. And then we'll go back over here because we now need to share the other one. There's a second one. And this is my second great grandmother on my maternal side. This is Melinda Jane Scantleberry. And my aunt made this one. And my aunt does some beautiful, beautiful quilting, I have to say. She has some amazing quilting. But here is a woman who came out from England, again, born in England. She ended up getting married in Australia because she went from England to Australia. where she got married to this guy. They then had 3 children there. They then moved across to New Zealand, where he went to work in the coal mines on the west coast of the South Island, and they had a 4th child. So we know roughly when they came to New Zealand, because we knew when number 3 was born in Australia, the 4th child was born in New Zealand. So somewhere in that time, they moved to New Zealand. We haven't been able to find them on passenger lists yet. But then he was killed in a mining accident. 2 of his boys later died in childhood as well. And then she married a second time and had 5 more children. And if you have heard me tell this story before, one of her children ended up becoming one of the most notorious men in Australia. In this book, the 10 most dangerous men in Australia. And he happened to have, and so this half-grand uncle of mine happened to have a whole chapter to himself. He was a tyrant. He was a slumlord, turning people's power off, their water off in the middle of winter. He was tried for treason. He was arrested for treason against Australia during World War II. He was a Nazi sympathizer. He embezzled money from the Nazis. Don't ask me how somebody in Australia got to embezzle money from the Nazis. I don't know. But I'm sure there's a story. But this is her panel here. And my aunt made all of this. They even said, the materials that she had in her sewing room, except for the black lace that was kindly given to her. So, and then underneath that, she's got, this is Millen. This is her here as Brundle. She was a Bullen before that, Scantlebury. Then there was her daughter here, my great-grandmother, and then my grandmother's listed here as well. So this is a panel with her story. Again, she is an ordinary woman. Yes, again, she did extraordinary things. She left England and went down to Australia. She got married to a guy there. They had some kids. They then moved across to New Zealand. She then became a widow. She said, I'd been in New Zealand about a year, and then there was a mining accident, and she became a widow. And then it was about a year later that she got married to another guy and had 5 children with him. So again, extraordinary lady, just nothing out of the ordinary. But she did one extraordinary thing of signing a petition in 1892. What's that thing she did? Hang on. Does it say that on here? Oh, it just says her panel number. They don't have her petition sheet number because we're not sure if she actually signed it or not. But, who do you have in your tree that is just a regular Joe Blow, Joe Smith, and they did one extraordinary thing? What was the extraordinary thing that person did that's left a legacy? Because they've left a legacy of this. And to be able to go in there and look at these panels and learn more about these women, it's just absolutely amazing and pretty cool. It's all part of their story, and I want to learn more about them. Yes, I've got the facts. I have the facts of when they were born, when they got married, when they died, who their children were, where they were born, where they were when they got married, did they immigrate anywhere, where they immigrated from and to. But these are just the facts. I want the stories. And now I have these stories of these 2 extraordinary women who were part of this movement. So I have questions for you guys too. And, this is one thing why I think it is important to know history, especially history that relates to your family. How did something impact your family? This was the suffragette movement here in New Zealand in the early 1890s. And what was the result? They got the right to vote. Other countries followed years later. I'm not sure, but I think it was like the 1930s before America gave women the right to, before all of the women in America got the right to vote. Something like that. Maybe it was the 1920s. I'm going to go look that one up eventually. But it took a number of years before other countries followed what New Zealand had done. And that I had second great grandmothers who were involved in this. So now I want to go back and search more through these petitions to see if my other second great grandmothers, one, if they were alive at that time, and if they were, did they sign the petition? So I want to go see more about these people. It makes me want to go and learn more about this whole movement. What did it involve? Were they under some sort of persecution? Should they sign this thing? You're under some sort of threat of signing. So it gets me piqued in the history of that time in New Zealand. So I'm going to go learn more about it. You never know. When I'm talking to somebody about New Zealand, I just might throw some random fun facts in there about it. Who knows? But anyway, I do have questions for you. Questions today are: have you ever discovered a piece of your family history that gave you chills? This whole thing did. If you could stitch your story into a quilt or a banner like the Suffrage and stitches, what part of your journey would you share? Number 3, who in your family, past or present, inspires you to stand tall and speak up? And number 4, what does legacy mean to you and how are you shaping yours? My second great-grandmother's left a legacy of being part of the suffragette movement, which is just amazing. Just one extraordinary act of signing a petition. And look what happened. That my ancestors were part of that history. So it's kind of really cool. What historical events have taken place in your family's history that they were part of? Go ahead and check it up. You never know what you might find. But with that, we are out of here. Go out, have a super fantastic sparkling evening, and we'll be back tomorrow evening at 6 p.m. Pacific. Hei konera.